The Middle Ages of Europe are known as a time of fantasy and magic, a time of when art culture was at its finest. Jousting was widely respected, and festivals dominated the land of whole cities. While some of this is true, the Middle Ages were also a time of massacres, death, defiance, wars, and disagreements. The Black Death influenced the life of Europe forever, and changed Europe as we know it today by wiping out almost 60% of Europe's population. Greed and conflict also influenced Europe as European monarchs came into conflict with the papacy, benefiting or even sometimes causing wars and battles. As stated before, the papacy and the European monarchs often came into a conflict in a struggle for power or wealth. In an attempt to increase the papacy's supremacy, Pope Boniface VII produced some of the strongest claims of any person or pope of the time. Boniface was excommunicated by Philip the Fair, and Philip the Fair seized Boniface. No pope ever repeated Boniface's actions in any like terms again. Even the Magna Carta was an attempt to create a separation between the church and the state. Actions like these continue in events like the Crusades to events that are going on at this very moment. In England, the Magna Carta was the separation of church and state. The first part states that the church would be free from interference by the crown. This affected the dispute between King John and the Pope about Stephen Langton's election to become Archbishop of Canterbury, the result of which England had been under interdict for 7 years. The barons forced King John to sign the Magna Carta to create a separation between the church and state. The reason was to keep the crown from abusing power and using the church as a weapon to seize land and property. The Pope annulled the actions of violence and force on King John 1 month after the Magna Carta was signed. The Magna Carta was reissued with alterations, although it had never fully satisfied both sides. The Crusades were a series of military campaigns to restore Christian access to the Holy Land. Islam banned the access of Christians to the Holy Land so that none were allowed to enter. Christians and most Europeans were outraged and did not respond lightly. The First Crusades were a 200-year struggle for power over the Holy Land. One after another, there were 6 more Crusades until finally Christians lose their last stronghold, Acre, in 1291. Battles were fought, won, and lost, both sides at a struggle for power, but both brought Europe to what it is today. To this day, there are still fights for power that continue to ring throughout Europe. These events of conflict and cooperation built Europe to what it is today. The Black Death was a devastating series of plagues that originated from Asia that struck Europe. It had been believed to have arrived on boats in late 1348 by ship rats. Fleas infecting those rats would transfer to other animals and humans, although some argue that the plague was an airborne virus due to the fact that it spread so fast to such large numbers. The plague had a large impact on England's society and social structure, which could have led to the Peasants' Revolt of 1381. By spring of 1349, the disease affected every 6 out of 10 Londoners. The Black Death was a devastation to medieval Europe, killing almost 200 million people. The Europe was broken down and disassembled to the screw, and over time had to be rebuilt to the powerful and prosperous continent it is today.